Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the last of my preseason predictions. I'm going to try and get this out literally at day of making it because I am leaving for Camp Tonazona for ASU. So I'll be gone for like 3 days. But I want to get this one out. I've been dreading doing this one because I literally don't care about this conference one bit. But let's just do it. Like and subscribe and help a comment always helps. Oh, and if you haven't seen any of the other videos, there's going to be some games that I have already picked answers for, like Baylor Auburn, ASU Mississippi State, because I've already done that prediction video. And this is a different format that I switched to that for some reason just takes away the previous predictions. So, with that being said, I will just be automatically clicking some without like a real answer as to why it's in the other videos. I don't mean to direct you to those videos, although I kind of do at the same time. But yeah, that's why I'm not going to explain. I will go into depth on this one because I actually want to talk about Mississippi State. Let's start off with Mississippi State. There's a couple talking points in the SEC that I want to get to, but a lot of it is just a bunch of corporate slop, a bunch of stuff I do not care about. So let's get into this. Mississippi State, as you know, I'm picking ASU here. Or if you haven't known, go watch that video. You would love my ASU prediction, I'm sure. But Mississippi State, this team I feel like is actually cooking. They were a pretty decent team last year, pretty underrated at that. I know you say pretty decent, and their record did not reflect that. But I mean, they showed a lot of fight for the football team that they were. They showed a lot of fight for their record, and I see it. I see the potential in this team. Starting off with a second game of the year, um, starting off with the second game of the year, home game against like number 11, I think they will be at the time, ASU. Um, yes, they finished off 2-10 last year, 0-8 in the SEC. All right, I understand that they started to come back against ASU, but ASU was up 30-3 in that game. They got smoked by Toledo, and they really just didn't put up much competition for the first half of the season until their bye week. Once their bye week kicked in, they actually started to compete. They only lost at Georgia by 10 points. They lost to Texas A&M by 10 points. They kind of got their butts handed to them by Arkansas, but Arkansas had nothing left for them. They played the game against Tennessee was close for a while before Mississippi State let things get out of control, and then they lost to Missouri in what was a close game before it took off. And then they played a really tough game against Ole Miss, which they lost by 2 scores. So in theory, I'm digging myself a deeper hole. But the performances against Georgia and against Texas A&M and against Ole Miss, even the comeback they managed to put together against ASU, Mississippi State looks like they're building something. Now, I'm not going to say they're building something like 9-3, 10-2 worthy. They're not there yet, but I do think they will improve drastically from last season, considering they were 2-10. So, I'm literally going to say ASU wins this one by like a field goal or a one possession game. And no spoilers, but in my Big 12 prediction video, I have ASU going 12-0. I seriously think this might be the closest game ASU will win this year. This might be the toughest game ASU will play this year. If ASU loses this one, then Mississippi State is about it like that. I wouldn't even say ASU just isn't about it. Mississippi State is about it like that. Boom, give me Mississippi State. So they're already matching last year's record, and then they play NIU. They beat last year's record because for some reason they have 4 non-conference games in which they can schedule crap, except they did schedule ASU. But at the time, ASU was predicted to go 3-9, worst team in the Big 12. They host Tennessee. I'm going to take Tennessee here, but I feel like this is where people are going to start realizing that Mississippi State isn't a bad football team. And then they'll lose to Texas A&M, wow, they unfortunately for Mississippi State, they have a really hard schedule on their hands. These are 4 really, really difficult games. It's not looking too good for Mississippi State in terms of proving themselves and being better than what people think. They have a really tough schedule on their hands, but maybe they will play these games tough. But I'm going to have them going on the road and beating Arkansas. I don't really think Arkansas is going to be that super good of a football team. They weren't that good last year. They were kind of fraudulent at times. They lost to Oklahoma State, who didn't win a game in the conference for the Big 12. I mean, Arkansas is receiving some votes, but I would take that, or receiving some votes to be ranked. I would take that with a grain of salt. Vanderbilt is too. Like, a lot of teams get votes to be ranked from the SEC that just, shouldn't. That's that SEC bias. Hosting Georgia, win for Georgia. At Missouri, Missouri is also receiving a lot of votes to be ranked. I think Missouri is taking a step back, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But here is my thing. Give me a win here. I know the Mississippi State at Arkansas might seem like a stretch, but games like that happen where bad teams go on the road and upset all right teams, and it doesn't cause a mass domino effect or an earthquake that takes down a city. It just happens, and people will be like, "Oh, that's a cool win for them." But this is the big one, and this is where I really started. When Mississippi State was playing Georgia last year and they only lost by 10 points, that really got my eyes. That really was whoa. And then they only lost to Texas A&M by 10. I was also whoa, hold on. Mississippi State is playing games tough, but then they started to step back, and I was like, I think I predicted Tennessee to lose to Mississippi State, maybe. I'm not sure. That one might seem like a stretch, but I do remember being interested in that game. And then Mississippi State, they just got clobbered left and right, and then they played a bit of a tougher one against Missouri. But then this game, which was played on a Thursday or a Friday, was actually way closer than I expected it to be. So, yes, I say Mississippi State is going to improve drastically, but they do have a really tough SEC schedule. There's really not much they can do about that, but that's probably going to spell doom for next season. Mississippi State, probably is one of the toughest schedules in college football. ASU, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, those are all tough games, all very tough games. If they can manage to win one of those, especially the Ole Miss one, which I think they will play the hardest in considering how big that rivalry is down there, that is a successful season for Mississippi State, and this team will start cooking next year. But this game, I feel like we can expect this one to be a really good game. I'm not even going to hold you. LSU, let's do LSU next. I'm very excited for this one because another season opener. I think this one is on Sunday, if I am correct. It is on Saturday, and it's at 4:30, and this is really a big one. Clemson, number 6 in the AFC Coaches Poll. LSU, number 9. LSU last year was ranked super highly, and they were playing a bottom of the top 25 USC team, and USC got their best win of the year right away. Year before that, LSU got manhandled by Florida State, which Florida State ended up going undefeated. Year before that, LSU lost on a blocked extra point to Florida State. LSU cannot win this first game of the year, and I think the trend stays true this year just because of the fact that you're playing Clemson. I mean, Clemson is just going to be a really, really doggone football team this year. They're going to be super good. I already technically predicted this one in my ACC predictions, and I believe I talked about how I was kind of excited to talk about LSU, and I am, even though I'm not excited to talk about the rest of the SEC as a whole. I'm very excited to talk about LSU because they can't win the first game of the year, and it's a constant, continuous trend. So Clemson wins there. LSU again starts off 0-1, but they only drop like 4 spots. This time it's reasonable because Clemson is number 6. Last year they lost to number 24 USC, and USC just skyrocketed in the rankings, and LSU only dropped down a couple spots, and it pissed me off. And I kept on saying that LSU was going to finish the year with no ranking, and that's what they did. All season long, they ate up a ranking spot, and then they just finished off not ranked. I've been looking at LSU too long. Third video I've said this. For some reason, like the font of these words, when you look at it for too long, it makes it look weird. It makes it look like Egyptian writing. Whatever. LSU wins. Big game right here. It's at LSU. LSU wins. LSU wins. At Ole Miss. Ole Miss is ranked. I don't really know if they're going to last in the rankings. I think they might finish off at like number 24 or something like that. I'm just not too sure they are going to last in the top 25. I'm going to take LSU on the road here. LSU versus South Carolina at LSU. I think LSU wins here. After all, LSU was the worst team in South Carolina. They went on the road. They did get some help from the referees, but they win there. I'm going to take LSU over them, LSU over Texas A&M, but on the road against Alabama, I'm going to take Alabama there. Win-win, loss to Oklahoma to finish the year. And if LSU would have just been able to win that first game, close out a close one. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think these are all going to be close finishes. I don't think any 3 of these losses are going to be blowouts, but I also think most of these wins are going to be closer games, with the biggest win probably being against like Arkansas or Vanderbilt. These are all going to be close games. It's a competitive conference. LSU, they've got the number 1 Heisman candidate, depending on how you look at it. Some people say Cade Klubnik is number 1. Some say, I don't even know how to say his name. Is it Garrett Newsmeer or something? We'll just call him Garrett. Garrett is number 1 on most people's list. Cade is number 1 on most people's list. It's pretty much between those two for the preseason number 1, though. All right, who should I do next? Let's do Oklahoma. Oklahoma is an interesting team. If you watch my Big 12 or Big 10, oh my God, I keep on calling the Big 10 the Big 12. If you watch my Big 10 prediction video, I pick Michigan here, which is actually like unusual for me to pick Michigan there. Very unusual, but I did it. So Oklahoma starts off 2-1. They're not in the top 25 right now, which I actually kind of freak with it heavily, except for the fact that Boise State is in the top 25. I would replace Oklahoma with Boise State. I'm not going to lie. But some people really have Oklahoma being like a really good team this year. We will see, and I think Michigan these two teams will be close on terms with each other, but Michigan will just have a stronger defense. Oklahoma hosting Auburn, win against Kent State, win. Oklahoma really likes to win this game, but Texas wins it again. At South Carolina wins there, but hosting Ole Miss, win there. Oh boy, Oklahoma, you've got a fun one this year. I'm going to give them the win on the road against Tennessee, but a loss to Alabama and a win against Missouri. And they finish off the year 8-4. They take that thunder away from LSU right at the end of the year, cannibalize. Oklahoma, also a team with one of the toughest schedules in the league this year. The SEC seems to finally be scheduling some difficult non-conference games. It's just annoying that they have 4. Most teams would schedule a difficult non-conference game, and they only have 3. These guys kind of get 3 freebie wins, but it's not going to be enough because this conference is going to cannibalize itself. And that loss to Michigan, if they could have just closed it out, they'd have been a 3-loss team, potentially getting that 11th spot. But no. South Carolina, LaNorris Sellers Masterclass. Is it? I'm not too sure. I have Virginia Tech to start the year. I'm going to take South Carolina there. That is a difficult opener, though, like a really difficult opener, just because of how loud Virginia Tech can get. If the fans show up in the environment is electrified. It can be a really tough game for South Carolina. Hell, they might even lose this game. I could be completely wrong about Virginia Tech in my prediction video. Sorry for the loud noise. Virginia Tech is a team I have been thinking about a lot. I already did the prediction video for Virginia Tech, and I just kind of wish I did more with them. I just kind of wish I did more. I had them going like 6-6, and I just kind of wish I did better. I just wish I did better, but I didn't. So Virginia Tech loses there, and unfortunately, let's just get it out of the way. That also means if Vanderbilt beats Virginia Tech there, I think I will regret this. There's very good potential that Virginia Tech wins both of those games. But, sorry, it's like I start making a video and my nose just decides to start running. It literally happens every video. I don't understand it. But, anyways, like I was saying before I was attacked, South Carolina Lenora Sellers Masterclass, also a very high Heisman candidate, and a lot of people think very highly of him. South Carolina was a weird team last year. Yes, they were good, but they had to really pull some stuff out of their ass to win games. Let's be real. They should have beaten Alabama. That was a horrible the horrible miscommunication to lose the game there. But, I mean, Jalen Milroe was throwing interception after interception, just playing horribly. All Jalen Milroe could do, and I will stand by this, was run the ball. That was all Alabama. When Alabama was able to let Jalen Milroe run the ball, they won football games. When they shut him down running the ball, they lost football games. South Carolina should have won that game, but in exchange, they lost that one against LSU. Or actually, no, that's not how it works. They got screwed of the LSU game for sure. They got screwed. But that Alabama game, they kind of blew that with the miscommunication, and they really the Lenora Sellers fumble that just gave Alabama the ball. There was just too many mistakes if they want to win that game. South Carolina was the better team there, but then when it came down to the Clemson game, they could barely beat Clemson, and I know Clemson was a better team than, they made the college football playoff after all, but they made them in high-scoring affairs. They really couldn't get past Clemson's defense, which got torched twice past that point. So SMU, massive comeback against that defense. Texas destroyed that defense. I don't know. And then South Carolina went up against Illinois, and it was a super heated game. And they just lost. They lost to Illinois, and it just kind of took the life out of South Carolina football for me. So I do believe they will be improving. I don't know about improving. I think they'll be on the same level, which could spell a little bit of doom for South Carolina. But lucky for them, they've got 3 easy SEC games to start off at a big old 6-0 before they head into LSU and take an L. And South Carolina at this point, AFCA Coaches Bowl number freaking 13. This will help them out a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. They won't start off 6-0. They'll start off 5-0. So they'll probably get up to number 8 or something before being handed a loss by LSU, before beating Oklahoma. They do have an easy schedule. They do have an easy schedule. Whoa, hold on. I think they have a schedule to do it here. This is kind of whack. I will take Ole Miss for the sake of not letting this team go 11 losses, but bang, bang, bang. Yeah. That seems pretty good for South Carolina. Now I want to switch this game up here, but 2 losses, losing difficult ones on the road. Ole Miss, this will probably just be a game South Carolina makes a lot of mistakes in, but this big rivalry, South Carolina's kind of dominated this, and I do think Clemson is one of the best teams going into this year, but it's at South Carolina, man. This is going to be a big game. South Carolina is one of the most momentum-filled teams I've ever watched. I will give them that. South Carolina, they have momentum, bro. They just carry it with them. I don't understand how. But 10-2, the Norris Sellers get his team into the college football playoff. And, yeah, we'll see what the rest of the SEC does here. Texas, number 1 overall. I've got them losing to Ohio State to start the year. Win. Because look at this lovely, jubbly hunk of garbage. I really got to think here. I don't think Texas loses to Georgia. I don't think Georgia's going to be that good. But they have a lot of nice home games. You know what? Whatever. Only losses to Ohio State. If they go undefeated from that point on, I'm missing a game. Oh, there we go. Yeah, doesn't even matter. They go undefeated past that point. They lose to Ohio State by like 10 points or something. They go undefeated from that point on because they have one of the easiest schedules in the SEC. And they go to the SEC championship, probably against South Carolina from what it's looking like, because I have Alabama losing to Florida State, which isn't a conference game, but win, loss at Georgia. Win, loss to Auburn. Alabama, for a couple years now, has been supposed to lose to Auburn. I don't think this recent game, they were supposed to lose to, what's their face? I don't think they were supposed to lose to Auburn, and I don't think they did. I don't remember, though. I'd have to pull it up here because, honestly, Alabama has really always struggled with Auburn, even though, they won 28-14, so it was kind of like whatever. But in 2023, if this website could load, they barely won. Barely won by 3 points. I think that was the game where it was the 4th down into the back corner of the end zone. 2022. They won by a lot, but that was a really bad Auburn team, and that game was relatively close. But 2021 was when they won in 4 freaking overtimes against Auburn. 4 overtimes. They have shown time and time again, especially when they didn't play each other in 2020. That sucks. They've shown time and time again that they can absolutely compete with this football team. And mainly the games that they lose and it's not very close are when it's at Alabama. But when it is at Auburn, Auburn plays extraordinarily well and almost takes on the team. Granted, they are not the best football teams. Auburn has a lot more hype going into this season. People think they should be in the top 25. I think they got the really good wide receiver from Georgia Tech. And they also got a quarterback transfer. They got a really good quarterback transfer. Or I wouldn't say really good. They've got a quarterback transfer with potential. Auburn could be better this year. Hell, let's do Auburn next. Or actually, I want to do Georgia next. But Auburn wins this game. They finally take down the Crimson Tide. Win, loss for Georgia. Win, loss. I have Georgia Tech winning that game. Yep, 8-4 for your Bulldogs. I just don't. They're ranked number 3. You can assume Georgia will have a good defense. They always have a good. Oh, well, actually, no. They didn't really have the best defense last year. But, they had Carson Beck as their quarterback. And Carson Beck is a good quarterback, but he was off last year. He was making mistakes mainly because they just didn't have that receiving firepower that they have had the past couple years. Georgia in 2023 was snubbed of a playoff spot. They lost their first game against Alabama. That was the first one they lost, and they just got kicked out because of it. Georgia probably should have been a team in the college football playoff. Let's be real. They just barely lost that one against Alabama. Had they not lost that, who's saying that they'd lose a game in the college football playoff and go for a three-peat? But Georgia since then has kind of taken a step back offensively and defensively. They lose Carson Beck, who I think was pretty bad for them. He single-handedly lost them a lot of games with a lot of turnovers, but he also, single-handedly won them some games and, brought back some games from the dead. He brought that Alabama-Georgia game all the way back just to lose it at the end on a bad intercept. I mean, it was a really good interception by the Alabama guy, but his defense blew that pass to Ryan Williams. And, there was Carson Beck was the quarterback for this team that really managed to keep the offense going. He made a lot of mistakes and there was a lot of bad slumps, but without him, they wouldn't have been as good. And that really showed once Carson Beck got hurt and that backup came in, they got stomped by Notre Dame. They got absolutely stomped. Yes, they beat Texas in the SEC championship, but it was I don't know. I don't know. That game was weird. Texas probably should have won that game, but their offense just wasn't moving. And that's why I say Georgia's defense is probably going to be good this year. They had a lot of games last year, like against Georgia Tech, where, they had a lot of points dropped. Mississippi State scored 31 on them. A lot of teams scored a lot of points on Georgia's defense, but overall I'd say they had a pretty good defense. And it's probably going to improve a lot this year, but their offense is just going to drastically step back, in my opinion. I don't think this backup quarterback who was behind Carson Beck is going to be able to take the throne. I just don't think he's going to be able to. Florida freaking football. Bang, bang. Yes, I have them beating the U. That is correct. I believe so. Because, again, Carson Beck transferring to Miami, a high-powered offense. A high-powered offense that went a 3-loss team last year. And with the number 1 overall pick, do we really think Carson Beck is going to fill in the shoes of Cam Ward in terms of that super high-powered offense? I don't think so. And Miami's defense was hideous last year. I don't think they're going to be as good as people are giving them faith in. Texas A&M wins there. Win. Loss. Yeah, loss, win, win. They have a really tough schedule. Florida has a tough one at LSU, at Miami, Texas, at Texas A&M, Georgia, at Ole Miss, Florida State, even Tennessee. That's a tough schedule. DJ Lagway's cooking, but they need an easier schedule or just a better overall football team if they want to win. If they want to go 2 losses. If they go 3 losses with this schedule, I think they're in the college football playoff just because of how difficult their schedule is. But considering they lose to LSU, they might not get there because they lost to LSU. LSU will be a 3-loss team with 3 losses to Clemson, Alabama, and Oklahoma. Well, maybe Florida gets in. I don't know. That'll be weird. Tennessee starts the year at Syracuse. I think I picked Syracuse here. If I remember correctly, I think I picked Syracuse. Tennessee, you lose Nico Amalivia. I have no idea how to say his last name, but you lose Nico Amalivia. And, yeah, I mean, that is just a huge loss right there. I mean, that quarterback was really good. I mean, at times he was playing really bad. He overthrew his targets. And there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential for Tennessee this year in terms of the offense, but the quarterback has to be able to fill in those shoes. They also lost quite a bit. They lost their running back, I think. But they lost quite a bit. I believe they gained quite a bit, but the quarterback changed. I just think Tennessee might be taking a couple steps back in the wrong direction, and they start off against a Syracuse team with a quarterback who could really do it. I mean, again, another transfer quarterback, but I feel like this transfer quarterback is actually really has potential. Probably would have been the starter for Notre Dame, but he decided to transfer out. Steve Angeli. Yeah, and I mean, Kyle McCord was great for Syracuse. It was a super high-powered offense. They also got a lot of people coming in I think Syracuse wins this one. These really are two of the same teams in the same scenarios. It sounds like they're literally in the same area of bringing in new players and a new quarterback, and for some reason I'm saying Tennessee will not do as good, whereas Syracuse will. I just think there's more better coaching at Syracuse and more ability, better transfers and stuff, better people coming in, whereas Tennessee, not so much. I don't like Tennessee because there are a lot of crybabies over there. Tennessee has already been hit with 4 losses because I predicted this one in the ACC video and other predictions. I have taken teams over Tennessee, but they win their easy games and go 8-4 because they have a lot of easy games, but they get a big win against, or at the time, looks like a big win against Georgia right there. Texas A&M, ranked in the top 25. Very weird. Very weird, but they do have an easy schedule. I'm missing one. 8-4 masterclass by Texas A&M football. They've got a tough schedule. I feel like that's a trend here for the SEC, all just because they're around the same skill level, in my opinion, with some teams standing above the rest. But at Notre Dame, you're not winning that. At LSU, you might put up a competition. That might be a close game, but LSU is probably just a better team. South Carolina, the better team. Texas, the better team. I mean, there's really nothing else to it. I'm even being nice, giving them like a win over Florida and stuff. Like, they very well could lose that game. Ole Miss. Ole Miss starts off easy. Can I select this given what happened last year? Another team that goes 8-4. I mean, seriously, a lot of these teams in the SEC are going to be going 8-4 because literally Georgia State. I mean, Tulane will be all right. Washington State, the Citadel, bro, they shouldn't have that many non-conferences. Auburn, I have them losing there. Bang, bang. Win over Missouri. Loss against Arkansas. Win, win, win. 7-5. Finally, a team that goes 7-5. Did I pick Kansas here? Oh, God. I don't remember if I picked Kansas or not. Really seems like a prediction I would make would be to take Kansas over Missouri, but maybe I just decided not to. No, it looks like I didn't. I pulled it up there on YouTube, which I didn't do last time. For some reason, I didn't. So they get 3 wins. Kansas could very well win that game, though. This might be a good game, too. Win because they play Central Arkansas, Louisiana, who was like 10-2 last year, but in their poop conference and got absolutely swashbuckled by TCU, and UMass, who was absolutely god-awful. Lose, win. 6-6 for Missouri. They are just not that good. Yep, already selected that one. Win, win, win. 6-6 again for Vanderbilt. Arkansas. Yeah, unfortunately for Arkansas, there's not really a whole lot they can do. I mean, really tough games on the road. Really tough games at home, too, except they just blow this Mississippi State game, and then they blow the Missouri one, and they just have an overall disappointing season. Dude, Toledo wins that, honestly. Toledo wins that. Oh, God. Oh, God. 2-10 for Kentucky football. That's a horrible season for Kentucky football. And they're kind of back to what Kentucky has been, So, some changes. Mississippi State is no longer last in the conference. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams going 8-4. 1 team going 7-5. 2 teams going 6-6. Bottom teams here, Mississippi State manages to go 5-7, but then above the pack, you've got Texas, LSU, and South Carolina. Does LSU get into the college football playoff? Or I'm sorry, does LSU get into the SEC? Yes, they do over South Carolina because they beat them. Even though South Carolina's overall record is better, it doesn't matter because LSU wins the head-to-head against them. That's what the thing is if it was 10-2, 9-3, these two teams didn't play each other, South Carolina would be here. But since LSU, I have them beating them, it'll be Texas versus LSU in the SEC championship. So South Carolina will probably get into the college football playoff, and LSU will have to get in if they beat Texas, which they could do. They could do. But Texas pretty much goes undefeated except for a first game of the year loss at Ohio State. That's just a toughie. And the SEC only gets 3 teams, maybe even 2. Maybe even 2 teams. Because if LSU loses this game to Texas, they're a 4-loss football team. No 4-loss football team is getting in the college football playoff. You got 12-1, 10-2, and then the rest are just a bunch of 4-loss teams that ate each other alive. This is kind of what we saw last year from the SEC, and even still, like Ole Miss losing to Florida, South Carolina having 3 losses, like people were freaking out that they didn't get into the college football playoff. Mainly people were freaking out that South Carolina didn't get in over Ole Miss, and rather like Clemson got in and SMU and stuff, and people were freaking out, and it just didn't matter. I mean, LSU won their bowl game against Baylor, but it was a close enough game to prove that they probably would have lost in the college football playoff. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm talking about LSU. They did not have a shot to get into the college football playoff. Rewind. They were not getting into the college football playoff. I meant to talk about Ole Miss. Ole Miss, I don't know who they played. Oh, I think they killed Duke. So Ole Miss to me had a reason. That was the team, if anything, I saw them getting into the college football playoff, but they looked like shit against Florida. You know, you want to play bad in a game like that and lose it. You also lost to Kentucky, who was horrible. Then you're not making it into the college football playoff. You're obviously just not a good enough team to go for long stretches and play your best football, because you drop one to a horrible Kentucky team, and then you drop one to a middle-end Florida team. And South Carolina, you know, they couldn't really do anything about that LSU game, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but then they literally just lost to Illinois. So anything that they had going for them, they just threw it right out of the window. But SEC championship, I will take LSU against Texas versus LSU. I will take LSU to win that. LSU gets in as they get into the college football playoff. They're not doing the whole, you know, if you win your conference, you get a bye spot. It's based off of actually the top 4 teams. LSU just gets in with 3 losses. Texas takes a loss, and it's not going to be a pretty loss either, or it's not going to be a close loss. It's going to be like a pretty bad loss, like by 17 or something. LSU, after all, I mean, yes, Texas plays competitive against Ohio State at the start of the year, but they ultimately lose, and they win a lot of these games by close margins. But LSU, you know, they beat Clemson, or I'm sorry, they lose to Clemson in a very close game. They lose to Alabama and Oklahoma in very close games, but really tough road games that they like to drop. But ultimately, you know, they beat Florida. They beat South Carolina. Like, they beat a lot of competition. Granted, so does Texas, but on a slimmer margin. Just 2 really good road games they managed to pick up in close finishes. But Texas finally gets their strength tested against LSU and supposed Heisman quarterback Arch Manning, who has barely played any actual football. Wasn't even the starting quarterback. He played against Colorado State, you know, ran the football a little bit, whatever. Yeah, we'll see how Arch Manning does. But Texas, you know, overall, they've been building something really good. They've got a really good head coach and a good staff. I do believe this Texas football team, I mean, at the maximum, goes undefeated and beats Ohio State on the road, but probably finishes off the year or the regular season before we go into the conference championships, finishes off at number 1 just because of their easier schedule, but then they lose to LSU, which probably puts I'm sorry, no, they won't be number 1. ASU will be number 1 because they'll go 12-0. All right, that's my SEC prediction video. I wanted to do this as fast as possible because I am leaving, so sorry if some stuff is a little weird. Wasn't really fully situated. Like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps. That's all for me. Adios.